tournament season. It's in full force. It's Monday, March 7th. There's only 10 games today, fellas, but they're good ones. They're great ones. We're going to talk about them. But first, Jim, we were on yesterday. What am I saying?
Come on.
Lots of great games on Sunday. Some tickets punched to the big dance. What did you see in particular? What do you want to call out?
Yeah, well, today, Kai, quality over quantity for sure.
Mhm.
Today, I'm going to swoop in and steal what I'm sure is Matt's takeaway. Arch Madness. We had a heck of a game.
Yeah,
Matt's a little
takeaway. You rat.
Matt's probably a little salty about that one getting right outside his +5. That was painful to watch, but it's a great game. Loyola kind of showed back up with the scene them with in the Missouri Valley. Drake gave a game effort, but Kai, maybe Matt, maybe DJ Wilkins' absence showed up a little bit. They needed maybe one more shooter. So cheers to Loyola, and bubble teams everywhere breathe another little sigh of relief just because they don't have to worry about Loyola.
Yeah, they dodged 2 bullets, the Murray State Moorhead bullet and then the Loyola Drake bullet there in the title of Arch Madness. Kai, my takeaway, holy Chattanooga. This team is good. I saw some people on Twitter shooting with what?
You hyping this up? Is this going to be a letdown?
I'm not going to jinx it. No, stop it. Nope. Because yesterday what I adopted behind the scenes was an irrational confidence toward our bets. I was boasting about how well your Northeastern Huskies were competing. You lashed out at me, and sure enough, Bill Cohen's boys competed to the final buzzer. We got ourselves a cover there. So I'm trying to completely shift my mindset, my paradigm, how I look at my bets, Kai. But hey, Nuga, they're all the way legit. They dominated Citadel first round, dominated yesterday. I love this Furman team, but I think Nuga's just in a different class. So I'm looking to bet them again when they pop up on our slate tomorrow. Today. Excuse me.
Yeah,
that's today. Today.
I wish you'd had more irrational confidence in my over and my under that got really dinged by shooting splits. I did not expect the Sun Belt teams to go 21 of 41 from beyond the arc. That was painful.
Ouch.
But oh well.
My takeaway, guys, as Pete pointed out, because I have to mention it, Nebraska beat Wisconsin, and yesterday, I think we all said, at least I did, that was impossible. There was no way it would happen. I mean, sure, Johnny Davis got hurt, but my God, they probably should still not have lost Nebraska. As a result of Illinois' win, Wisconsin falls to the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Illinois gets the 1 seed. I think they're above Purdue.
You're right.
Yeah, they split the championship there. I love the Illinois court rush, by the way. Always rush the court. That's my takeaway there. But let's get into conference games. I'm glad we only have conference tournament games today. They're my favorite. I tend to totally ignore the regular season when we get to this point because these games are so much more intriguing. They rock. And Matt, we're going to start off with San Francisco versus Gonzaga. San Fran feeling good. Got the win over BYU. My take, they're fat and happy. They know they're dancing. Gonzaga wipes them off the floor. Your take.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's been bet up to 14. It's opened at 12. I think people are seeing the same angle we are, Kai. I think it's a little bit rich, Jim.
Matt, I took
Jim,
12.
You took 12. Jim's really sharp, guys. Professional sports handicapper, Jim Root, to my left. I took it at 13. So I guess I'm a hybrid square / sharp triangle there, whatever shape you want to concoct in your head to think of me as a hybrid smart square, Kai. I can't conceive an angle where you bet the Dons here, Jim. I just can't. I think they think they're in. I think they're, as Kai mentioned, and definitely in cruise control. They just want to keep this game. And I guess the one angle you maybe could make in the case of the Dons is that they don't want to blow out to stain like the last taste in the committee's mouth as they assess their performance. But that's such a nitpick. I would take Zag still, even at the higher number.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you with 100% certainty from sitting in the Todd Golden presser, they believe they're 100% in, Matt. I don't think they care about any sort of blowout here. They treated, I think, that win as though it was like the clincher. So the emotional letdown is potentially an issue. Gonzaga is awful loss. I think there's a decent to good chance that Yawan Masalski does not play. Working with a bang knee. I don't think they want to force it with the NCAA tournament on the horizon. So all those kind of things lead me to Gonzaga. That said, it did get bet up 2 points. So Kai, I'm going with first half -8 as my best bet here. I just Gonzaga angry off the loss, Don's fat and happy. I think is too ripe of an angle to ignore. So give me the Zags first half -8.
Yeah, I'll just put a little cherry on top here. Gonzaga won by 16 in both games. They played San Francisco. And the Dons put up a pretty damn good fight. I mean, they were not laying over. They played really well and still lost by 16 in both games. So I do think this is a Gonzaga beatdown, Jim. Love your first half. Best bet angle there. Let's move on. The other WCC semifinal matchup here is St. Mary's and Santa Clara. Mary's favored by 5. Santa Clara, Jim, beat the Gales this year. They could not be stopped inside. They do have a lot of length, and Jalen Williams has turned into a star. I just don't like to bet against Randy Bennett in a tournament setting. What say you?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest concern here. I was mega impressed with Santa Clara. I stuck for the first half of the Portland game, and it was like a 20-point game already. So I did not stay for the very late. I mean, it tipped off at like 11 p.m. local time here. It's crazy. So I didn't stay the whole time, but they're huge, Kai. They gave me the hop off the bus passing that test. Maybe it was, at stark contrast compared to Portland, who is decidedly not huge. But I was very impressed with the execution of Santa Clara. I think they can definitely compete with St. Mary's. So I'm leaning towards the Broncos as the underdog here, but you expressed concern, Randy Bennett. That's probably what stops me, Matt, from actually laying a wager on this one.
Yeah, I was actually leaning the other way, Jim. I wanted to back my Gales here, but it's been bet up to 5, 5.5, and I'm just not in any rush to take them, especially off the Cloud 9 win against Gonzaga. I mean, they were up 17 in that game. To hold Chet and Drew to a combined 12 points, so this front line is no joke. But Jim, you mentioned, I think that's why Clara's had success in the 2 meetings with St. Mary's. They basically play them to a stalemate, is because that is the foundation of their team, is that front court, buoyed by some health rejuvenation late in the year, Kai. All that said, I was looking at the under potentially, open at 141, then bet down to 138. We'll talk about some of the other under massive steam moves that we've already seen today in the other championships and semis. But again, I don't want to hop in at 138. So stay away, fence rider for me.
Yeah, I'm highlighting the defenses here. St. Mary's defense is just lockdown. You mentioned it, Gonzaga. St. Clara's not as good. I think St. Mary's can pick them apart a little bit, as they did in both games, by the way. They did split the season series, but St. Mary's scored pretty much at will in both contests. I think the spread feels pretty right. I do lean towards the dog. St. Mary's is definitely in the tournament. They know it. Santa Clara, they need to win the WCC tournament. So if you want to go for a little motivation angle, it's hard to believe Santa Clara would win this game outright, but I do think there's a little bit of value on them at +5 right now. Moving on. Horizon time. Going to hit both semifinal games here.
Above the mob break. Look at the Horizon respect.
Above the fold, baby.
Love it. Love it. We're saving the championship games for after the below the fold, as Matt likes to say. Wright State, Cleveland State, guys, the 2 favorites heading into the year, meeting 1 round too early, some might say, Matthew. Wright State looked a little bit better down the stretch. Impressive comeback against Oakland on Thursday. That's right. The last game was Thursday in this tournament. Crazy break. Cleveland State hasn't been as good, and Dennis Gates got all weird with the rotations and some discipline issues. I don't really know what happened there. Matt, what do you see in this game?
Well, I'm looking at what happened in the 2 regular season meetings between these two. Cleveland State swept the regular season series. I think there's something to the stylistic matchup that gives the Vikings an edge. We talked about how there's some historical data that supports the notion that if you beat a team twice in the regular season, you have a slight edge in that third matchup. I think that actually holds in a spot where Scott Nagy, head coach of Wright State, has talked at length about how teams have figured out how to stop their offense. You can just zone them, and it really takes away the Raiders' bread and butter on offense. Cleveland State, one of the better zoning teams in the Horizon. They have length. They have athletes that they can disrupt passing lanes. They can, just make things uncomfortable for Grant Basile and Tanner Holden, those other dudes that can kind of score multiple areas for the Raiders. So I get why the Vikings had success in both meetings this season, Jim. I've been looking to back by Wright State in this tournament, though. So for that reason, I ultimately stayed away. Even though the matchup leans Cleveland State, my gut leans Wright State. Net cancels out.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold that the matchup is entirely this like monsoon heavy Cleveland State thing. The first game happened when Wright State had no clue what they were doing defensively, like pre
that was
New Year. Yeah. They were just in a world of hurt at that point. The second game, Matt, Cleveland State forced them to turn it over 26 times, 35% of their possessions. Wright State was just punting the ball into the stands. I don't think that'll repeat, but that is they can pressure. That is not like Cleveland State's going to try to make it repeat. I just think Wright State's a little more poised at this point. So on a neutral floor, Kai, I am actually leaning towards the Raiders, pulling the upset as the 4 seed, even though it is like a pick 'em -1 game.
Yeah, they're favored.
Yeah, so
they were. Yeah,
leaning towards the Raiders, but not betting it because there are some matchup concerns with the zone and the pressure that Cleveland State's going to bring.
Yeah, Wright State shot poorly in those two games against Cleveland State. 10 for 36 combined from 3 in those two games. Not great. Both coaches.
Hey, Kai, that's what the two teams shot in my over yesterday. 10 for 35 from.
I see you're still sore
tough,
about
Jim.
that, Jim.
A little bit sore. I'm a little sore.
That was tough.
Both teams, both coaches have won this tournament recently. Gates won it last year. We know Wright State's coach. Jesus
Nagy.
Scott Nagy.
We know Nagy's won this a couple times. It's pretty even. I'm going with the Raiders. I'm sticking with my guns from the preseason where I thought they would win this league. Got to do that in a conference tournament setting, I think. Moving on, the next Horizon game on the horizon. Northern Kentucky versus Purdue Fort Wayne. Jim, Fort Wayne is the hottest team in the Horizon. Probably still a little undervalued, says 10 straight wins, 8-2 against the spread. Northern Kentucky, 13-2 straight up and against the spread last 15. I will save my take for the end here, but what is your take?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue these are both the two hottest teams because Northern Kentucky hasn't lost to anyone not named Detroit in like 2 months either. So a weird matchup where, Kai, the other two were the favorites entering, but these are definitely the two hottest teams. I'm looking at Purdue Fort Wayne's numbers against zones, and it's not great.
It's not great. I saw that too. Yeah,
surprising.
Per synergy, but yeah, they're loaded with shooting. You'd think they would be terrific. Matt, they kind of lack a guy to throw at the free throw line. The guy that can catch there, turn square, knock down a mid-range jumper, spray the ball around. They're more based around dribble drive penetration. That's how they get their open threes. So, I mean, Matt, you can talk about the first matchup between these two. Purdue Fort Wayne couldn't score. That was basically the issue.
I think that's right. They have shooting, but I think they create those shots off driving kick, and the zone sort of negates and thwarts that whole action. It turns guys like Jared Godfrey and Pipkins and Chong Kui, who are just master, like inventive ball handlers. They can get into creases in defense. They drive kick. They all play so well off one another when they're in like that fluid motion, but in the zone turns them into standstill passers and catch spot up shooters. And that's just not really their strength. But Jim, I think the thing with this Mastodon team that we've been snoozing on is how good their defense has been. It's the best defense on the horizon. They turn people over. I know Northern Kentucky's got a pretty sound backcourt, but they're relying heavily on a freshman who I love, by the way, Sam Benson. I think he's going to be a star in this league in a year or two. Certainly in a high pressure situation, it's a backcourt that can cause some disruption of their own. I like the under a lot in this game, but speak of one of those games that just got absolutely murdered to the under. Impossible for me to endorse right now at a price where it opened at 137. Actually, it's down to 134, not as low as I thought. I got down like 133 or 132, but still pretty low for two teams that can get hot from three.
Yeah, these two teams split the season series. That first game was a long time ago. I think a lot of people forgot about that, but Fort Wayne did win first matchup.
I forgot about it. So there you go.
Yeah, no Trayvon Faulkner that game for NKU. They had 18 turnovers. I think Fort Wayne can turn them over. They're pretty sloppy with the ball in Northern Kentucky, and they can stand up to their glass attack. I love the Dons in a tournament setting for their shooting ability. Sure, their best 3-point percentage in the league. Nearly half their shots are threes, but mostly because of their game-breaking backcourt. Godfrey, Pipkins, Chong Kui. That is what March is about. Awesome guards who can score whenever they want. That's Fort Wayne. They are a tournament darling in the making here. Best bet Fort Wayne +2 for me today.
Boom.
Love that guy.
Boom.
Hey, mention Mr. Deontay Billups, 6th man of the year in the horizon. They're loaded in the backcourt, like 4 legit guards that can all score off the bounce.
Yeah, I agree. They rock. Now, we can do Chat Mob Part 1, or we can save it to the end. Since there are only 2 games that are not on this outline, let me get a quick vote.
Kai, this is me holstering my gun.
Holster. Yep. Let's holster it. We're holstering the 2 games till the end here. All right. That means next game we're going to talk about, Matt, is a doozy. It is the SoCon Championship. It's Chattanooga. It's Furman. Nuga swept the season series short-handed. No John Baptiste the first game. No D'Souza or Hankton in game 2. They have a big edge inside, Matt. But Jalen Slauson gives Furman a huge edge on offense, 23 points per game in the 2 matchups against Chattanooga this year. Who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, so Slauson's just been awesome, right? I think he was Defensive Player of the Year in this conference. Yep, but the problem is that with the way Chattanooga's constructed, you either need to kind of pick your poison. You need to stop their interior attack, or you need to stop those game-breaking guards. And Slauson's kind of stuck in no man's land, right? Like, he's a great matrix-type defender, but he's not big enough to really shut down D'Souza and Ayeni, and I guess Hankton to a lesser extent up front. He's also not really a guard that can be slotted on Malachi Smith. and Jean-Baptiste. And I think that's why Nuga's had success in the regular season against the Paladins, Jim, the Paladins, Ardens. Is it Paladins or Paladins? What is it? We always forget.
It's Paladins.
Paladins. Like I'm trying to say Aladdin.
I didn't know you didn't know which one it was.
No, it was a bit. Then I forgot, like, wait, what's my bit? Is it Malachi? Is it Malachi? The whole thing. But anyway, Jim, I do think Nuga has a real edge in this game.
Nuga has a Malachi. So
Nuga has a Malachi. I actually got that one right. But Jim, the steam up to 2.5 Nuga. I'm going to hit Furman if it hits 3. I think that's way too high. I've been a Nuga guy all year, but Nuga -3 against Furman. I think I'd take Furman +3.
Yeah, I'm not betting it, Matt. But I do think Chattanooga has some serious edges here, as you noted. Slauson is a great versatile defender, but he is not standing up to big men, like you mentioned. No. Kai, we both watched that game against UNC, and while D'Souza is no Baycott, I mean, he is a much bigger dude, can bully Slauson around inside. The other tough edge for Furman here is I think Bothwell has always dominated as like a physical, just pound you guard, get into the paint and draw contact. And Chattanooga's guards are bigger and stronger than him. So he doesn't
Foster too. Same kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So they lack that kind of edge. I think Nuga's got guys to chase around Garrison and Foster and Hunter around the perimeter. So I just think it's a really tough matchup, kind of the same way Wofford was. Nuga's biggest slip ups in the league were when they like kind of lost focus against inferior competition. So I'm riding the Mocs to complete the season sweep here, Kai, but I'm not going to lay that price where it's at now.
Yeah, I love that. And similar with Purdue Fort Wayne. Chattanooga has 2 game-breaking guards, killers in Smith and Jean-Baptiste. They can score in late game situations. I looked up the post-up defense for Furman. Yes, Slauson's a great shot blocker, great help side shot blocker. He's not a good post defender one-on-one. D'Souza can have his way with him. He is the 5-man. That's what makes Furman's offense so hard to stop. They play 5 out. Everyone can shoot on the floor, but Chattanooga, Jim, with those long wings, those athletic wings, such a size advantage there. They do really well defending the perimeter, and they have in both games against Furman. So I love both teams. So win-win for me, but I think it's Nuga's year. I think they get it done.
Can I throw in one more thing? I forgot.
Of course.
A good angle. I mean, Nuga cruised yesterday. They did not. Yep. They were not stressed. And Furman played an absolute war against Samford, like knockdown, drag out fight that had some crazy stuff happening in the final minute. I think that helps Nuga a little bit be more ready for this one.
Agree. And the game 1 too against Citadel, they were pretty much, and they had that game won by the half, I'd argue. So yeah, I think they're going to be well rested. They have the rest advantage, I think, today.
All right, next game, Sun Belt Championship, Louisiana versus Georgia State. And Jim, this is fitting. I know these were your 2 top preseason teams. These are my top 2 preseason teams. So of course they both make the championship here. Massive disappointments during the season. Finally playing better. Who you got?
Yeah, Kai, I'm sitting back and basking in me, going on VSiN and giving out +2,000 on Louisiana and +400 on Georgia State. And here they are meeting in the final, and I get to just sit back and watch my futures go at each other. So I would probably not wager on this game because I have those, but I think there's some decent edges for Georgia State. Louisiana has bullied teams inside, Matt, and you can't really do that with Georgia State with Saseme and Thomas. Like, they have legit size inside. That has been a big part of their defense so far in this tournament. And the guard shot making, I think, is relatively equal. Maybe I trust Georgia State's a little bit more. They've gotten hot lately. But Matt, what I do love here is the under. And like you mentioned with several other games, it has been hammered down. It's like 4 points below where it opened. Oh my God, it's down to 132.5.
It's like the biggest move I've seen in a tournament under in years. I was looking at the data this morning. It's insane. So
it's like 5.5, 6 points down, but I'm still locking in best bet under because I'm not scared. I am not a baby. I'm taking under 132 here. Yesterday, like I said, the Georgia State App State game was slow. They just had crazy shot making, over 50% combined from deep by both teams. That was the one thing that pushed it over the total. So I'm going to ride the under once again. I think this could be like 54-50. That would be a wonderful result. No stress at all. But Matt, that's what I'm doing. Riding the under.
Yeah, I agree. I think a key thing with that, or to that handicap, is just the fact that both teams have like embraced their big man identity and like they're really playing through them. There's really no, I don't see the same like assertiveness to push the ball in transition. I mean, look at this total just closed 141.5. They played on February 25th. So now it's down basically 10 points, but that game was 123-point game. So I think the odds makers have finally caught up to the fact that this is the way these two teams match up, the way they're trending, plus the back-to-back situation in the conference title game, all that kind of adds up into a holy cow line move. But I'm with Jim. I think there's still value, even at this terribly beaten down price.
Georgia State swept the season series. I think they're just a tough matchup for Louisiana. If their zone looks, they're nails. Louisiana, 12 for 22 in game one from three, just 11 for 33 inside. I mean, Georgia State kind of has the roadmap to combat Jordan Brown, Akuba. Now, Louisiana is going to grab a ton of offensive rebounds. They definitely did in both matchups, but Georgia State's going to force a million turnovers. We know how sloppy Louisiana can be with the ball. If this gets in late game clutch situations, I trust Georgia State's guards way more. I think it's their game. I think there's value on the number for Louisiana right now at 3.5. But I think it's Georgia State. Louisiana's been impressive, 3 straight wire-to-wire wins, but I can't trust them in late game situations. And I like Georgia State here to win.
Only 10 turnovers yesterday for my Cajuns. How about that? Woo! Hey,
yeah,
round of applause
for them. Really a pressure defense.
Troy, yeah.
Troy. Yeah, Troy can pressure, but you're right. I'd still, a round of applause for my Cajuns.
All right, next game, North Dakota State versus Oral Roberts. We're going to hit the 2 Summit games here. The popular and fun pick, Matt, is going to be Oral Roberts, but I kind of think North Dakota State gets it done. What do you think?
I lean Oral Roberts. Watched him play last night. Completely sold by what that team is now. Isaac McBride is just like an awesome Robin next to Asmus, and then Elijah Lufiel up front. Lufile, thank you, Canadian accent or Canadian twang to that, is an absolute physical specimen. Jim, we and you were gushing about him in our group chat. He wasn't great defensively. He let Tanel Pearson get his on the other end too. But I think they have that inside punch now to basically add another counter to the perimeter shooting, which we know if Oral Roberts is hot, they're not going to be beat by anybody. But now they have like a more consistent way to manufacture points efficiently inside with Lufile finally healthy. He basically has been a shell himself to start the year. Now he's back at full strength. He's an absolute man-child. And I think he's a difference maker, Kai, even with a North Dakota State team, which just got back Grant Nelson, who's also been an X factor for them. A lot of fascinating components here. I do lean Oral Roberts. Problem is the market's been all over it, though. It's already been bet down to -1, I believe.
Yep. I lean Oral Bob too, Matt. And Lufile is a huge reason why. He played 7 minutes in the first meeting, 17 in the second. And yesterday, the last 2 games, he started and played 27, 28 minutes. Jordan Majeski has pointed this out. He nearly fought the North Dakota State bench after the game ended last time. I think he's going to be dialed. And that was the difference. They didn't have interior defense in those first 2 games. He's actually around to give them a presence. He is big enough to body up against Cruiser or against Grant Nelson. I think they needed that. Didn't have it the last couple games. And Matt, we still get Max. I don't want to bet against Max Asmus shot making in this tournament. That is terrifying. So yeah, I would lean Oral Roberts on the side. Don't have a strong take on the total here, Kai.
So Nodak State did sweep the series, but Oral Roberts was ice cold both games. Credit maybe a little bit to the North Dakota State defense, but still can't really bank on that again. And North Dakota State was also pretty hot. Probably regresses. No second chances for Oral Roberts. North Dakota State is an excellent defensive rebounding team. That's kind of an edge there. I know we're talking about Lufile being a huge presence, but North Dakota State's big, man. Cruiser, I think, still has a bit of an advantage there. I'm also scared to go against Asmus. There's no answer for him. We know how good he can be in a tournament setting. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a fun game, but I think I'm going to go against the grain here and say North Dakota State wins it.
I love that these are the 2 worst defenses in the country at forcing turnovers. 357, 358.
Yes.
So you're going to have some efficiency going on out there.
Beat us is what they both say, which is great.
And maybe a little over.
They can both make shots.
A little over lean maybe in this game. Possibly. Last Summit game here, South Dakota State for South Dakota. Jim, I need our Jack Bunnies in the dance. They're 78th in KenPom, actually dropped 10 spots yesterday after beating Omaha by just 10 points. What do you think about this game?
That's a silly move this late in the year. I mean, I get it. They only won by 10, but tournament setting, it's tough. The dogs aren't going to quit. They're not going to roll over the way they would in the regular season. I still continue to be mystified by the fact that South Dakota State had the best defense in the league. I think that really jumps out. Not something you expect from them. And they play inside out. The 3-point percentage numbers are what jump off the page. You're like, whoa, they never miss threes. But it's because the way they get them, Matt. They play in out. They've got multiple interior scorers between Apple, who had a 40-point game to end the year.
40 burger.
Dougie Wilson's terrific, a tough matchup for basically anybody in this league. And that produces really quality outside shots. South Dakota is very well coached, but they're playing the back-to-back, whereas South Dakota State had the day off. So I'm leaning towards the Jack Bunnies, Matt, but they've been hit pretty hard and bet up to like -9 at this point. So no wager on this game.
Yeah, hey, it's why I'm taking first half as my best bet here. South Dakota State -5 translates to -9 full game, which is where it sits now at most shops. Does feel high, but they just played, like I said, in February, talked about how they swept them in the regular season. That line closed -7 at South Dakota. So a very moderate adjustment to up to 9, just making that like 2-point swing. And I think we'd all admit that the Summit home courts deserve a slightly larger respect than that. So I guess from a price perspective, I actually think it's just still a bargain. I've been low on South Dakota even through this surge, even though they were awesome before they got Xavier Fuller back. They got Fuller back, and they've still just continued it. I think this is a game where South Dakota State just makes a statement and runs them out of the gym. And I think if you're going to get that, it's more likely that you get that in the first 20 minutes, where it's going to be harder for them to hold them off, I think, in the second half. So first half -5, best bet. Boom.
Yeah, South Dakota's a tough team. I'm actually kind of buying into them a little bit. They beat Oral Roberts. They beat UMKC the last 2 games. I'm kind of kicking myself. I didn't stick with my guns yesterday against UMKC, but alas, they're well coached. South Dakota State won both these games easily, though. They just have too much firepower. Not sure they're going to cover 9 in tournament setting. We've talked about how Jim mentioned Omaha. It's tough to beat a team tough to blow a team out, we'll say, in a tournament setting. So not sure about the full game. I like the first half angle, Matt. Lean towards the Jack Bunnies. Need them in my tournament, like I said. All right, chat mob time. I already know the questions. There are none, but we only have 2 games to talk about. They're both in the Colonial. Let's start with Delaware Towson. Delaware has actually been hit pretty hard. It's down to 4.5 now. I'd lean towards Delaware at the opener. I kind of lean towards still, but Jim, my worry is still Dylan Painter. 15 minutes played against Drexel. He's clearly not 100%. And that matters a lot more against Towson.
Yeah, Towson also might have lost Charles Thompson yesterday. He got banged up. He's been awesome for them as an interior presence, both as a scorer and a rebounder. So that is worth keeping an eye on, whether he's able to go. Both teams could be down a key big man. I'm kind of leaning Towson, though. Delaware is excellent and well coached, but I like what Towson has done with the way their guards can spread the court. Matt, adding the element of shooting has unlocked this Towson offense. We've said it multiple times on here. And they've swept the regular season series, and I think that's more of a matchup thing than it was like a luck or a player availability kind of situation. So I'm leaning towards the Tigers against the market, which feels crazy, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, Delaware got ugly win to sneak by Drexel, who was 4 of 23 from downtown. Big reason why they were able to pull that game out with a hobbled Dylan Painter. We talked about how his injury status is going to be pretty key. I just think they're a different team without him at his best. So, I mean, honestly, under feels great here. Just I feel like Delaware has to win low, ugly scoring games. It's not a very deep team playing on the back-to-back. They don't really have, like I said, that interior punch with Painter that they can play inside out through. But I mean, if Towson gets hot, which we've seen them do, that could blow that up too. Kai, you agree the opener is too high. I agree with the money, but I'm not fading Towson. I love this team. I think they're overvalued in the markets, but I still love this team, and I'm not going to bet against them in a conference tournament setting.
I agree with Jim. They're a tough matchup for Delaware. They handle them easily. It just might be a tough team for them to play.
Yeah. Quick reminder that last Saturday of the season, they started a second half like makeup game down 9 with 17 minutes left, and they won 40-19 over the final 19 or 18 minutes. It was like that's how dominant Towson was in that game.
All right, last game we'll hit, guys, is Charleston UNC Wilmington. Maybe some are surprised to see Wilmington as a dog in this one, despite being the 2 seed. Matt and Charleston, the 6 seed, a very impressive win over Hofstra yesterday. Absolute domination. Are you surprised to see Charleston as a favorite? And who are you going with?
I guess I'm a little surprised. I do have Charleston as a slight favorite, though. So I agree with the way the odds maker shaded the opener, because a healthy John Meeks is a revelation for any team, but especially the one he plays on now. And he was a monster yesterday, like 22 points in the first half. Completely elevates the squad. And just you isolate the part of the season when he was healthy to start the year. I know he had some injuries the latter part of the season. Charleston was a covering machine, like for those first 2 months of the year. I think now you're seeing a resurrection of that version, Jim. So I would not be fading this Charleston team, even though we talk about how the UNC Wilmington narrative is truly a team of destiny, or so it feels that way.
Yeah, I mean Wilmington yesterday they got it done they got it out of the way early. They got down 18-4, got in their double-digit hole as they do, and then they won by 17. Like it's just a remarkable trend for them of get down double digits and win. So Charleston, don't come out too hot. You don't want to do that. Surprisingly, Meeks was like full strength for both these meetings, Kai, and UNC Wilmington still swept them with him playing 30 minutes plus.
Yeah.
But I kind of think Pat Kelsey in a tournament setting and no Trask crowd, the home court for UNC Wilmington, I'm leaning towards the Cougars despite getting swept. It feels like yesterday against Hofstra, where Hofstra swept Charleston, but both were really close games, kind of the same way this Wilmington was, and Charleston actually got done in the rubber match or the third match. I mean, so I'm with the Cougars here, Kai, despite the fact that they're favored over the 2 seed.
Yeah. I agree. I lean towards Charleston as well. That does it. Let's remind the folks of our best bets real quick. Mine was Fort Wayne +2. Jim.
I had Gonzaga first half -8 and the under in the Sun Belt final 132, Georgia State and Louisiana. Hunt around. Maybe I think there's probably 132.5 out there, but BetRivers, my boys, have 132. So Matt, that's what I got.
I got South Dakota State -5 first half. It's been bet up full game. So chop off some of that steam with, I think, the first half, which is where they're more likely to extend their dominance, Kai, and keep the Yotes at bay early in Sioux Falls. Jack Money's -5 first half. Boom.
Perfect. Wonderful. Tomorrow, we're back at the same early time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see you then. Thanks to BetRivers. Thanks to Field of 68.